Hey folks, I'm Asran. I'm known as KhattakDev on the internet and I make videos on web technologies. In this video, we are going to talk about how to make a Netflix intro animation using just HTML and CSS. So let's just jump into it. So I have this simple HTML page here, and what I'm going to do next is I am going to add some div containers inside my body. I have already linked this with the CSS file, which is currently empty. There isn't anything here. So let's just start with the HTML. So here I'm going to start with a main div container and I'm going to name it Netflix. And this is going to be the main div container. And within this div container, I will make some nested div containers. And there are going to be 3 div containers and I'm going to name them as N and N1, N2 and N3. So let me just quickly do this: N1, N2 and N3. So this N2 is basically going to be the one that's diagonal, like the diagonal line that's in the N. So I'm gonna write this after N3 because it's going to be on top of N1 and N2. And within this, I will make another div container that is going to be filler. This is the general structure of the HTML for the Netflix intro animation. Alright, so since we are done with this, let's move on to the HTML part and let's write our code. Okay, so I'm first going to start with HTML and body, and I'm going to give them a height of 100 VH, which is view height, the total height that's available for the current window. And same is the case with the width. I'm going to give it 100 view width. And then I will make this display flex so that whatever I'm adding in the body, it's going to be perfectly centered. So to make it perfectly centered, I will make line item center and justify content center, and that will center everything. So we want our animation to be in the center of the page. So that's why I added the display flex and line items and justify content, etc. All right. Then for the animation, I want the background to be black, which is why I set the background color black. And then color may be white, so that if I add something just for testing, I can see the text. And this is how it looks. And then after this, I will make an overflow which is going to be hidden. And the reason I'm doing this is that because if you have seen the Netflix animation, the N animation, it when it kind of like scales from to some extent, and I don't want that when it scales up I see a scroll bar here. So to avoid having the scroll bar, you can do overflow hidden. And with this you can this is the basic code for the HTML in the body. Now let's move on to the Netflix part. And so for the Netflix part, what I can do here is that I will make this position relative. And I'm gonna basically make a container here, maybe like a rectangle, and within that rectangle I can then add the animation. So I will give them, you will get an idea of what I mean by this. I will give it a height of 242 pixel. Now remember that I have made this animation before and I have tested the values, so I'm just going to write the exact values. So this is not something usual. When you're writing something for the first time, you try a lot of different values. So do not confuse this, as I already know about the perfect values. This is something that I have already tried before, and I'm just copying the values that I already have. And then the height of 400 pixel. And this will also have overflow hidden because this is going to be the main container within which I want the animation. I don't want anything to be outside of this container. So that's why I have overflow equals to hidden. And then one last thing is, for now I'm going to give them a background color of green so that you see what exactly is happening. So this is the body of our animation. This is like the whole container within which we have to adjust the logo, and then we have to animate that. So that is it for now for this Netflix. I will remove this color once we are done with the logo, but for now let's leave it there. And this is a very good practice that whenever you're making something, try to add a background color there, so that like make a basic the main div container and set a background color, and then within that container add your logo or animation or a CSS art or whatever you're trying to make. So try using this practice. Okay, And then the next thing is, let's start with the logo. So the first part is going to be the first line. So I'm going to start with the background, and I already have the hex code for this. That is B10510. And then I'm going to make this height of 400 pixels, which is the total height of this whole container, and then width of 80 pixels. And then I'm going to make this position absolute. And now you may have an idea why did I did position relative here, because when I do position absolute, since this is a nested container inside the Netflix .netflix, it will adjust itself according to this. And this still does not appear, and that is because I have not saved it. So let me save this first, and you can see that this is the first line of the container. And then yeah, that's it for now. I use position absolute. That's because when we are going to animate this is gonna appear from the bottom, and which is why, so this is going to be initially top equals to 0 pixel, and not 0 pixel actually. It's going to be something like 400 pixel, and that's why it will be not visible initially. And if I decrease the size to 200 pixels, you can see that it's coming from the bottom. So which is why I have overflow hidden here in the Netflix part. All right, now we are done with this part. The next part is N2. Actually, let's go with N3 because that's much more simple. So let's first go with that. And for that, let me just copy paste this N3. And what I'm going to do here is that I'm just going to do right equals to 0 pixel, and it will set it to the extreme right side. Now I have the two sides. I'm almost done with the logo. There is just one part that's left, and this is the important, and it's a bit complicated as compared to the to these two. Now let's go with that one. So for N3, for N2, so N2 is going to be on top of these two. So for that reason, I added this after N3. What you can do is that you can give this N2, you can give it a class of N2, and the one that's in the tag now, you can give it a name of N3, but either way works. So let's go with that, and I'm gonna make N2 here, and initially, let me make this maybe okay. So let me just give it a color, and then this should not actually have a color. This should be transparent, and you will get an idea of why this is transparent once we start animating this. But for now, let me just give it a color. Okay, so once I have the color, now let's give it a height and width. So height should be 500 pixel, and width should be 90 pixel. And then so you can see here it appears here. Now then the next thing is, maybe I can give it a z index, and I will give it a z index. Actually, I will give it a position absolute, and I guess that will fix the problem. Yep, and I can see it being on the top of the N1 and 2. Now let's try to adjust this. So let me first start with transform and rotate this a little bit. So I'm going to rotate this z-axis, and this will be 20 degrees. And now this looks something like this. So let's position this. So for the top, I will go with the -51 pixel, and left equals to 75 pixel. And this is how it looks. Now, if I remove the background, which is this background color is almost our Netflix logo, but there is one more thing that we need to do for the logo. That is, in the actual logo, there is like a box shadow to this diagonal line. So let's add that. So I will make a box shadow that is equals to 4 pixel, 15 pixel. That is going to be the blur, and then black with some opacity. Let me just copy the color. So this is going to be this one. Okay, so this is how it looks now. And if I remove this, so this looks something like this, and this is the exact Netflix logo. There is just one or two more things that's that's like a very small slight change. You may have not noticed this, but there is just one or two things that we need to do. So let's simply do that, and then we can move on towards the animation part. So basically in the actual Netflix logo, there is like a small cut here, this in this line at the bottom. So let's quickly do this. So this is going to be N3. I'm going to make this N3 after, rather than making a new container here. And for this, for every after and before your content is always going to be empty, or like some content, but you have to use this property. And then give it a height of 10 pixel and width of 130 pixel, and then position absolute. So this will be position absolute. And then bottom is going to be, I'm not going to set these properties for now. Let me just make background equals to green and see. So yeah, this is the small kind of like small strip, and let's set this. So I'm going to make this bottom equals to -5 pixel, and this is there, but it's not this is behind this diagonal bar. So let's quickly fix this by adding a z index, and I'm going to make this 99, and now it appears on the top. And then maybe left equals to -25 pixel, and this is exactly what I want. And one last thing is maybe adjust the angle. So transform, rotate z, and let me rotate it by 5 degrees. And this is exactly what I wanted. Now let me just change the curve from green to black, and that is it. Last thing that we need to do is do something like what we just did for this line, for the N1. So I'm gonna add something here, and that will be N1 after, or maybe before, whatever works for you. And I will give it a height of 7 pixel and width of 100%, so that it covers the whole width. And then I will give it a background color of green and position absolute. This appeared, but this is here. So let's just quickly drag it to the bottom. So for that, I will give it a bottom of -2 pixel, and that's it. And now let me just adjust the angle. So rotate z, and this will be 3 degrees, -3, and that's it. So let's just quickly fix the color, and we have our Netflix animation and Netflix logo. And yep, so we are done with the logo part. Now the next part is to animate this, so let's start that. So now that we have the basic logo, the next thing that we are going to do is to add some animation. So I'm going to start with the animation that is, so I'm going to start with the pop-up effect. That will be once this logo appears, so it will kind of like pop up or scales up. So I'm going to start with that first. And for this, what I'm going to do is I am going to add a new keyframe here, and I will name this as nm-netflix. So this will be like a kind of pop-up effect, so which means that I will have to scale this up. So initially the scale is going to be 1, and on 100% this scale will be 1.4 or something like that. So 1.4, and to save this, I will just save this and then go to the .netflix command class, and then add it here. So this should be Netflix. So this should be nm-netflix, maybe 0.2, and then linear, and then forwards. So this is one thing, maybe not linear, maybe ease in, so that it's not like the animation speed is not constant throughout the animation. And then another thing is I want to do, so maybe I can give it 0.8 to make it a little bit slow. And this is something that I will need once I have the complete animation, since the logo itself will take some time to appear, because that itself will be in animation. So I do not need to execute this animation or run this animation instantly when the page loads. It needs to wait for that image to appear completely. So for that reason, this is something that doesn't make sense at this moment, but once we have the animation for like for this whole logo, then this will make sense. But for now, I'm going to add the delay. This will make sense once we have the complete animation. And this is how it looks. So refresh the page, and okay, so we have an issue that is this is not exactly what this should be initially translate sorry, not translate, scale 1. If I refresh the page, you can see here now it takes some time, like 0.4 seconds, and then it gives that, then it scales up. So that is the first thing. The next thing that we have to do is to start with this line, and we have to add an animation for this. So the animation for the two straight lines is exactly same. So I'm gonna make just one animation, and I will call this keyframes anim dash maybe top, so that because it's going to move towards the top side. So I'm just naming it anim dash top. Initially this should be top equals to 400 pixel, which means that this will be hidden, and then that 100% it will be top equals to 0 pixel. And let me just quickly add this to n1 and n3. So in case of n1, this should be animation, and that will be anim top 0.2 second linear forwards. So that is first thing. And if I show you, so this is how it looks. If I refresh the page again, this is too far, so maybe let me just make it 0.5 second, and then you can see it here. So yeah, I'm moving back to 0.2 second, and before I add it to this one, I'm first going to animate the diagonal line, and then I will add this to n3. So for the n2, I have to animate the figure, this figure which we have, this one. So because if I have to animate the diagonal line using n2, I have to adjust these values, and if I do this will not work perfectly fine. So to fix this, what I need to do is I have to set this to transparent. So I'm going to copy this. So this should be transparent like this. And then the next thing is I'm going to add a new class here. That will be figure, which we have already wrote here. And in this case, what I'm going to do is I will set the background color to the same color which I just moved and made it transparent. Initially the height is going to be 0 pixel, and that's it. So this is what it's going to be. So if I change the height to 400 pixel, you can see now if it changed, it fills the color. And if I make it 500 pixel, so that's what we need. So initially this is going to be 0 pixel, and using animation we will fix this. So for this, keyframes, and I will call it anim figure, and at 0% the height is going to be 0 pixel, and at 100% the height is going to be so the height is going to be 500 pixel. And let me just simply add this. So this should be animation and 0.2 second. I'm going to make the 0.2 second, and linear and forwards. So in case you're not sure about what is forward, so forward means that once the animation is completed, it should be in the state of 100%. If I do not add this, it will revert back to 0%, and then we will again have something like this. And I'm going to add an animation delay for 0.2 seconds. That's because I have to wait for this animation to be completed, and then this one should take place. I guess this is not working. Okay, so here is the typo. This should be animation delay, not animation. And yep, this works now. This is a little bit too fast. Maybe let's make it a little bit more slow so that we can see the animation. So yeah, this looks good. And then the last thing that we have to do is I'm just going to copy this and paste this in the n3. And for this, I have to set the animation delay to 0.8, and that's because so this line takes 0.4, and then this line takes 0.4, so this line should also take 0. The animation delay should be 0.8. So if I save this, you can see that it did, and this is working perfectly fine. Now one last thing is to fix the delay for the Netflix class, and this should be now 12. So if I save this, this is not exactly working. So let's just see why is this not working, although this should wait for 12 seconds. So if I do 10, and yep, so it should not be 12, it should be 1.2 seconds. And yep, one last thing, there is a small bug that you can see this line is already there, and then once the animation starts, it goes it becomes invisible. So let's also quickly fix this. So for this, what we have to do is we have to set top equals to, I guess, let me just quickly check. So this should be top equals to 400 pixel, and yep, this works. So this is working perfectly fine. Let me just also add this top equals to 400 pixel here as well, in case if you add an animation delay, like for example, if in case you add animation delay 0.2 second and you do not have this property, see, notice what's the issue here. The animation will be, the line will be there for 0.2 seconds, and then once the animation starts, then it will go to 400 seconds, and we do not want this. So just for security and safety, I just added this, although it's not needed in this case where we don't have the animation delay. But yeah, here is the complete animation. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and this was how you can create a Netflix logo using just CSS and HTML, including an animation. So that's it for today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and share this video in your circle. See you next time. Have a good day. Bye.